You stick a piece of wood up a goat's bum and
Yeah.
no,
we are alive.
yeah. First you eat the insides of the goat, and then you take the skin and um,
What a way to start out.
so yeah, go look at Macedonian goat pipes on YouTube. It's hilarious, and
I don't know. I'm kind of afraid now.
yeah, there's I mean, mostly they shave the skin, but on some of them they leave the goat skin on and the head, and yeah, it just looks a bit weird, but it sounds cool.
All right, so Johnny, you want to introduce everything, or?
Sure. This is I'm Johnny Drivebye. This is Deconverted Man, and it's Chocolate Hat, who is a guest of honor today. You're almost at 2,000 subs too, aren't you?
Yeah, I've nearly been at 2,000 subs for a few weeks now.
Gotta get you over the lump there.
Yeah, you know, it's been a long time coming, but I'm very pleased with that. I really am stoked to be at 2,000 subs and God knows how many views now. I mean, Mythical Entity doesn't know how many views now. Forgive me. So,
what made you start? What made you decide that you wanted to start making videos anyway?
Well, apart from wanting to be famous, no. No, what I wanted to say my bit essentially. I would do this thing where I'd work at home doing stuff that I do, and I'd be watching videos. It was like mainly Bored to Bits in the old days and Armored Skeptic before I didn't really like this stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But then I wanted to, because so in the circles that I hang out in, at least, the big thing is all the stuff that I tend to talk about on my channel. People believe in, if they're going to believe in crazy stuff, it's usually like universal consciousness and all the paraphernalia that goes around that.
Yeah.
And you know, all like the new age stuff and the quantum woo, and I was looking and looking, and there was very few people dealing with that. There was, you know, the odd thing from there was, oh, do you know, my mind's gone blank. There was the Mortimer, who he's just done another spirit science video. He was talking about quantum woo, and Cool Hard Logic was did a little bit of it, and so I thought there was a gap in the market, so to speak. I thought there was a distinct lack of talk about quantum woo and why it's woo and stuff like that, and I thought it's something that needed talking about because it's stuff that I was looking for in the past. It's stuff that I was interested in, so I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna have to do it myself, aren't I? So I did it, and I started by doing I think it ended up being a 9-part series on Rupert Sheldrake and his crazy ideas.
Well, don't underplay the lack of owls in the skeptic community. I mean, that was just, you know, I mean, you broke that barrier. So
and hats.
Yeah, and
well,
hats
made out of
chocolate. Hats made out of chocolate in particular, and I think owls are particularly good for wearing chocolate hats because they have a very insulating layer of feathers on the head, so they're less likely to melt it.
Yeah, you wear it well.
There you go. I was gonna like say, who do you have on today, and try to get you to say who, and and then I was like, who.
Tweet.
Yeah. Well, that's it for the owl jokes. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to get me a rat now and some joke about.
Okay,
in
now
fact, my channel trailer. I enjoyed making my channel trailer in my very early days, and it starts with me by saying I smell a rat, and I thought that was a brilliant pun for a minute, for about 10 seconds. But I left it in.
So what's the deal now? You got a set of bagpipes, and that's your the intro song is actually yours on your stuff, right?
Yeah. So other than where I kind of explicitly use other people's music and usually get copyright busted for it, It's all my own music on my channel, and it's yeah. So it's
I got the same
various
problem.
versions of some Welsh bagpipe music that I do.
That's awesome, man. I can't play them.
Well, you know, not everyone can.
So
But-
people didn't know that owls have insulating feathers.
What?
I guess, or well,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why your chocolate hat doesn't melt.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so as far as I understand it, feathers do both aerodynamics, streaming, and insulation, do they not? I mean, we have duck down pillows and duvets, right? Anyway, no.
Remember when we were explaining the bagpipes off air?
Yeah.
yeah, I remember that.
Bagpipes are not invented in Scotland. Mind was blown. Anyway,
All I heard was something about goat skins.
look, you
Yeah.
had to be there. You missed it. It's now an in joke.
Yeah, we were talking about how bagpipes weren't invented in Scotland. They were perhaps the last country to officially adopt bagpipes as an instrument. Perhaps, although a bunch of people are going to jump on me and say, "Well, blah 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 blah," they existed in Scotland for ages, but essentially they weren't invented in Scotland. They were they're invented in the Near East, North Africa, and the Indus Valley, and
Yeah, it kind of has.
and slowly became bagpipes. And every country in Europe and the surrounding areas had bagpipes as their kind of primary folk instrument, if you like, until violins became really fashionable in the 17th, 18th century.
Yeah, I was thinking of a Mongolian throat singer when I hear bagpipes too. For some reason, I correlate them too.
Ah, right. Yeah. See, I think didgeridoo and throat singings are quite similar.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it's all related. I mean, throat singing is spectacular. I love throat singing.
Oh man, I love it too. That's I got a couple of videos that I actually had to download because I was like, wow, that's cool. This one, some guy wears a kind of a green jumpsuit and he gets up on the mountains and just it's like, yeah.
And all that kind of stuff.
I could do it, but I'm too shy right now to do it.
Was this going to be another one where we ask the person their deconversion story, or I think you had something up about that, right, Chocolate? Or
yeah, I've my deconversion story is a bit underwhelming compared with quite a lot of American deconversion stories. Like I was listening to Prophet Azad's on your channel earlier, and it's like it's this kind of I was a fundamentalist and then I became an atheist, and yeah, mine's just quite British, really. So
yeah, in
very
Britain,
few people. It's not an overly religious country. I mean, it used to be perhaps, but it isn't. That's the thing. Most people are culturally Christian, I guess.
Yeah, you got the fundamentals over in the United States, the fundamentalists, hardcore fundamentalists.
I mean, there are fundamentalists and creationists in the UK.
True.
They exist.
That's true.
But you could have still been lured by the woo of all the quantum and entanglement.
Well, I was for a while. That's the thing. So I can go through it if you want.
Yeah, I want to know about the quantum entanglement or whatever it is. I don't know.
Actually, I do want to know about the uncertainty principle.
Okay,
No,
yeah, we'll come to that.
it's quantum woo. Quantum woo is always like they'll take the idea of the double slit and be like, oh, we observed it, and so you can change reality by looking at it or whatever.
Yeah. Now, it's quite a difficult thing, and I'm not a physicist. That's the thing. So it takes me a lot of work to get my head around the data and the evidence. Reading the stud. Oh God.
I think I get it, but I can't articulate it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Well, I think it was Richard Feynman said that if you understand quantum mechanics, then you don't understand quantum mechanics.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, he did, and that's one of those quotes. But even now, we're seeing people who kind of, it's starting to become part of something that we can understand. And people are going to jump on this and no, Richard Feynman's right. And yeah, it is completely unintuitive, but we've been talking about it for a while now, that it's starting to become something that we can talk about more than in Richard Feynman's day, even in the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Well, it's uncertain, so.
Well, how I guess I would ask, like, so you see a website, because I've seen these websites where they'll talk, they'll seemingly talk about quantum physics, and they might very well be talking about actual quantum physics, and then somewhere it will bleed into, if you focus your mind enough, you can travel to alternate dimensions or the past or whatever. So I guess my question would be, how do we identify when it's science and when it's woo?
Well, that's what's really difficult about quantum, and even in the field of the actual genuine kind of majority of working quantum physicists, there's still this area of like string theory. I heard you talk about string theory, Prof, that as well. That's one of those things that's got quite a good mathematical model, but absolutely no data, even despite it being looked for. So that's a bit, that there are these areas of this kind of mystery in quantum physics, and that's what it's famous for, being a bit mysterious and difficult to understand, and it is. But how do you tell if something's woo or not? Well, there's no easy answer to that. Just check reference to many different sources and get as good quality sources as you can. I mean, obviously physics papers are difficult to read, so the next step for that is to go through like a scientific interpretation. So I have a few go-to channels on YouTube, for example, that I tend to look for stuff. One is 60 Symbols, which is based out of the University of Nottingham. One is the PBS Spacetime channel. They're awesome. One is the RI channel, Royal Institution channel. And they do stuff that's a bit more accessible. And obviously, the nature of it is, the more you make it accessible to somebody, the more you dumb it down and miss detail out.
The last hangout I did with Steve Ballman, he has a list on. I have it on the description on that hangout that he did with me, but it's got a list of all the bunk pure journal sites or whatever that are out there.
I don't know, man. I mean, this website says for only $90 I can buy their video series that will tell me how to time travel using quantum. You're telling me that I should be skeptical of that? Man, I don't know.
Didn't Oscar Junkel do a video on that?
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things. If you're reading a paper from a pay-to-publish journal, then you've every right to question its validity, kind of just for being there.
Might not have lived up to a lot of scrutiny.
Yeah. The peer review structures are pretty much nonsense. I mean, a good way to assess a paper, obviously, and this is something I've learned from just watching other people do this, is for example, Potholer. Potholer's a big person who
my favorite
kind of who gave me the necessary tools to get into doing all this, is how to reference things. And so you can look at the journals, the score, the what's it scores, what they're called, the comparative ratings of journals. They've got a name. It's gone out of my head. It's gone out of my tired brain. That's the biggest problem I've been having recently. It's just time and not only just time to make videos, but time of clear, awake thinking. Because I've got a child, it takes it out of you. But the impact factors, that's what it's called.
The impact
of the journals. That's a good indicator of if what you're reading is valid or not. But for a lot of people, it's not about reading the papers directly from the source, because that is difficult, and I struggle with that. I have to read them several times. It takes me ages.
I need an abstract.
So
it's always weird to me, like, that somebody would see one person on YouTube or like at a fair or whatever, and they're saying, if you do this, then you'll be, all these wonderful, insane promises, and people will obviously buy into it because they wouldn't be out there if they weren't making money on it, But a lot of the YouTube stuff is done, and people aren't trying to make any money on it, so it's even harder to say, well, they're lying. Well, they don't know they're lying, so they're just so knee deep in this belief that it's weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird surrounding the word quantum.
Yeah, it's kind of like that it's a way to make it seem scientific without it actually being scientific. And there was this website generator I'd found that would make a fake mathematical paper, and it looks like complicated math, but people that understand math would see it and instantly know that it's bull. And so you could use this to, say, oh, look at my, scientific paper, and throw that in there, and the layperson might be scammed by it. So
yeah, and that's what Robert Lancer does, and that's what all the other nonsense monkeys do. Greg Braden and all that. They and Rupert Sheldrake. They throw you all this stuff which looks scientific and looks clever, but when you actually scratch the surface, it's empty. I mean, these people don't give you any maths even. And
yeah, kind of like a
but I mean,
scientific
they just make
apologetics.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So they don't give you anything to work with, and certainly you can. I mean, Deepak Chopra does this. He's famous for it. You say, if you include the word quantum, and you choose your right audience, you can pretty much say what you want and have people believe it. And it is a bit of an issue, isn't it? This kind of what is real, authentic quantum science that is.
There's a lot of people out there trying
like either mainstream view or kind of an accepted minority view of a subject, and what is bullshit. It's a difficult question, which is partly why I wanted to do what I do on my channel, just to try and do my little bit towards promoting what I see as being genuine science.
When I started caring was when I found out there was people that believed the earth was flat. And I was like, I gotta do something about this. That's not right.
A joke at first. That was I struggle. I have difficulty in believing that there are people who think the world is genuinely.
That was my ignorance there.
Would it be safe to say that one huge red flag for quantum woo would be anytime that somebody is saying that at our level we can do something with this stuff, that we're that anytime it says, well, you can use your mind to travel through time, or, if you look at reality, it will change, or things like that involve you as a, giant being in relation to these, quantum particles. I mean, they, if they knew that if they were aware, they wouldn't even be aware that we existed.
Yeah. So red flags, as in the red flag that means that it's worth scrutinizing this point of view, is anything that involves any kind of pseudo-religious thing, anything where you can affect something with your mind, as you said, anything where you can manipulate matter without some intuitive means such as tools. That's kind of a red flag, isn't it? Anything that I would say sounds too far-fetched to be true, but that's not quite true with quantum physics, because some things do sound far-fetched. But anything where
one friend of mine always argues that they have the consciousness thing or whatever, and it's like, come on. I think he's got a paper that you're going on.
It's funny. I was just going to bring that up, but let him finish his thought here.
Just anything that seems, anything that Deepak Chopra says, or anything that sounds similar to that. So, and I mean, there's all this idea that you can become one with the universe, which is pretty benign in itself. I don't mind people saying that. You know, if people like to see themselves at one with the universe, and that's fine for me. It's where they start saying that you bring your own troubles and illnesses on yourself, or you can just solve a problem by effectively sending out good karma, or all that kind of shit, or you can heal things, or you can treatments, or you can bend time, space, matter with the power of your mind, and that time doesn't progress in a linear fashion. No, actually, that's the thing that, again, it's difficult. Going back in time in a time machine, be skeptical of it.
First class.
When particles do it, that's okay, but only when tiny particles do it.
Okay, I want to talk about consciousness, because that is something that the quantum people will, say, like, they'll say, well, we have a consciousness, and of course they'll throw in, we don't really understand it, or things like that, but they'll say, well, the consciousness will continue on even after you die, because they're all this quantum particles connected. So yeah, what about that? Explain consciousness. That's easy.
Go jump off the bridge if you think that's the case.
Yeah, this we're all one consciousness, and like Sheldrake says it, our brain is a TV receiver more than it is a generator of consciousness, and there's absolutely no reason to believe that, despite all the people in the comment sections of my videos and everyone else's videos saying that there is. But actually, I've not seen any kind of good quality science that even remotely suggests that consciousness is anything other than naturally emerging from brain activity.
Hey, when you do, call me.
Yeah, I was going to say,
well,
what would, I like it when videos like, say, how creationism taught me real science, like Tony Reed does. I couldn't think of his name for a second. Where they say, okay, well, if this was true, no, somebody else does this, but if it was true, what you would see, like I've seen that with flat Earth debunks. So what would it look like if people had a soul? What would we see there? Would it just be like tons of energy? Or I guess probably what it would be is that even without a brain, that a person would still function normally. I think that would be a pretty good giveaway.
I think the opposite way around as well. Even without a person, a brain, a mind would function as well.
Yeah,
maybe
like you wouldn't need people.
We'd see when somebody died, we would see actual evidence, actual real data of communication with somebody who was uniquely that person. Or you'd be able to find a way of transplanting somebody's consciousness into a brain in a jar would be the classic one. I think you'd also maybe eventually we'd see technology where we could repair brain damage. If consciousness was received, then the receiving apparatus is kind of, I think it wouldn't be so far-fetched to say that it wouldn't be as complicated if it was the generator of consciousness, and therefore we'd perhaps see brain surgery that could restore consciousness in an otherwise brain dead person. Well,
that actually might be around the corner, so to speak. I was looking at and reading up on they've injected stem cells into this guy's brain, and he had several tumors removed, and they regrew parts of his brain. So I don't know if that's pretty cool.
That's not the same as surgeons reconstructing it.
Yeah,
if you see what I mean. It'd be okay. I'll make myself a bit more precise then. It would be a case where the mechanism by which people restored consciousness would be consistent with it, with receiving a signal, perhaps.
Right. I mean, you'd be able to pick it up in some other way, because I've heard that analogy.
Yeah.
It's like your brain's just this TV or antenna or a radio antenna. And it's like, well, where's the signal coming from? Why can't we detect that? Because whatever. Yeah. But there's been so many things where this one hospital I'd read, they had taped a piece of paper above this operating room where lots of people have perished on the operating table. I mean, more saved than perished, but still, it's a very busy hospital, and something is written on it that only like one person knows about, like what it says, and it's been there for however long, many, many, many years, and they're waiting for somebody that has died on the operating table and then come back to be able to tell them what's on the paper. Of course, nobody has. So it's kind of like, yeah, but you don't see that.
No, you don't see that. And what you don't see is the people when somebody is about to be born or about to be conceived or at some point before life is created, is identifying which bit of the consciousness that if it was broadcast to the individual, they might be able to communicate with that consciousness going into somebody being born, and then years down the line be able to reconcile what they've said with how they turned out and be able to uniquely identify that individual consciousness. And that's never been done, and I don't ever believe it will be, because I don't believe consciousness works like that. And the other thing that would be true, if consciousness survived bodily death, and if people who believe in ghosts often say that ghosts are consciousness trapped in the earth as something, and maybe we'd be able to validate the existence of ghosts. And if we could, why then shouldn't we expect to see ghosts of every little critter that died scuttling around?
We would be overrun with ghosts because there's so many insects and whatever. I mean, we'd have ghost trees and ghost plants. I mean, they'd be everywhere.
Yeah, sure. And maybe like somebody believes in broadcast consciousness would say, well, actually ghosts are not a thing, and that that would clear that up. But it remains a possibility. And I've often contemplated that when people say, oh, this building's haunted, it's like, well, what by somebody was brutally murdered here once, or like a rat that was stamped on by a horse, or what? Yeah, ghosts are very. This is that thing with like these out-of-body God experiences, if you like. They're very appropriate to the human. They're very anthropogenic.
Is that what it is?
Hello?
Ectoplasma?
Ectoplasma. What's that?
I think it's out of Ghostbusters or something like that.
Oh, yeah, okay. Sounds very Ghostbusters, isn't it? But,
I think so, anyway. For some reason, that came to my head.
Yeah, so... but I mean, even just in terms of neuroscience, I think the people who say that neuroscience, and there are people who say this, neuroscience proves that consciousness is like a universal source of consciousness, and we borrow it, but then they fail to actually, of course, cite any genuine neuroscience. Whereas if you look at what the neuroscience data says,
I mean,
then the conclusions that you can come to are that it's emergent from brain activity. Even to the point, and people say this, there's no hypotheses that make predictions that have been verified. Yes, there are.
When I think of that, I think I can't think of anything that you can predict with it, or what good is it for? Just if we really doing the same thing. So what is it? It's really nothing. It isn't anything.
Sorry, what's that?
No, I couldn't. So when I think about it, it's like I don't even know what I was going to say now.
Sorry.
There's no predictability with knowing that it was one conscious, because I mean, what is it? We all have one conscious. How do we know it? We don't know it. I mean, I don't know. I can't read your mind, so.
Well, no, we would be able to potentially read each other's minds. Yeah, that would be something a prediction that we could at least try and test.
Yeah, but
if we could, it might say something. But we can't. We can read body language, perhaps, but we can predict. So neuroscientists have done a whole bunch of stuff in recent years where they've done certain things inside certain people's brains and predicted the outcomes, done the thing, and then found it to be true, and it's all consistent with consciousness being emergent, of course. So I think
a lot of it's from our evolution too, from our survival instincts and all that we kind of kept as we went through evolution.
Yeah. Rupert Sheldrake tries to make out that evolution is powered by some universal source godlike field as well, but that's clearly nonsense. Evolution can be explained by genetics.
Okay, well, but I have a lot of energy in my head. I mean, if I plug in wires, I could, power a clock, and energy never is destroyed. So, therefore, the energy of my brain won't be destroyed even when it's not a brain anymore. So, also, no, why not?
Well, no, it's yeah. I mean, that's right. The energy won't ever be destroyed. It'll just get
change form.
It will just transform, right?
It'll transform, and it'll probably, and thermodynamics says it'll transform until it's all in a uniform state at equilibrium where it's no longer useful. But that's not in the lifetime of your brain, is it? So
no, not quite.
Look, I just want to find a way to live forever. So what do I do? I mean, all this woo is fake. So I'm just screwed now. Dang it.
Oh well, yeah. Maybe you should buy into the woo and pretend like you're gonna live forever, and then when you die, you'll just be like, oh shit.
And you'll just be surprised. You'll be like, oh, I was wrong. Ah, dang it.
Yeah.
Just find some fungus and start munching on it. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, science is, looking into and trying to figure out how to make us age less and things like this. I mean, it's amazing what we're doing collectively.
And it kind of works as well, because if you look at our average lifespans as hunter-gatherer humans, compare them with what it was in the Middle Ages, and then compared with what it is now, then we are living longer and staying happier for longer.
Well, I'll agree with living longer.
Well,
I'm too jaded to be happy anymore. Man.
I'm
kidding.
Yeah, well, I'm always meeting 60, 70, 80-year-olds individuals who are active and happy more and more than I remember. But maybe that's my memory playing tricks on me. But certainly the average age of the Middle Ages was maybe 60.
Okay, what about psychic phenomena? I can without touching it, move a cup with just the power of my mind and make it come to me or levitate in the air? Why can't I do that? Why what is
the thing is, the way I see it, we do make a cup of water sitting on the table come to us with the power of our minds. It's because our minds control our fingers and hands and stuff.
No, that's boring though. I want to do it without my hand. Is there, and the psychics keep telling us that we can do this. So why? I guess my question is, why can't we do it? And if we could do it, well, I don't know what the mechanism would be to enable us to do it. I think it would be a lot more energy.
It's all a bit homeopathy, if you ask me. It's like we've tested it and tested it and tested it, and is there any more point in testing it on the off chance that we haven't quite disproven it?
Yeah, like maybe if I concentrate really hard this time, the cup will just fly into my hand. But I mean, that's just not how. That's just not how the
more studies.
Yeah,
we need more public money to make more studies.
Well, it's just not how the energy of the brain is trapped, for better words, in the brain. I mean, that's kind of why.
Well, I don't know. Saying energy in the brain, there's the energy that we eat, which turns into brain activity in the form of neurons firing and like bioelectrics. But there's also the rest energy of the mass of our brains as well, and you're not going to change that unless you atomize your brain, are you? So again, energy is this word that gets misused, and that's an interesting one. When somebody says energy, are they using it in an accurate way, or are they ascribing mystical value to it or this general fuzziness, which allows them to create telekinesis or something. And that's the kind of going back to the red flag thing. That's a good red flag.
Yeah.
Energy. Energy is.
And chakras. That too is a big red flag. You know.
What if?
What is what is up with the
What if-
chakras? Come on, can't we align ourselves in the right way that we'll be able to harness the power of the universe itself?
You see, it's one of these things. It's like if, for example, praying is something that makes you happy, but it doesn't stop you from getting on with life and doing good deeds, then I don't really have an issue with that. If somebody wants to sit and meditate and focus on cleansing chakras, then and it brings them about a benefit, then that doesn't necessarily bother me. Obviously, it'd be nice to then have a conversation with that person on what the basis of their belief is and about scientific literacy and whether their views are compatible with evidence. But that's a kind of more progressive conversation, if you like. But if somebody was to say, well, I'm just going to sit here in the corner for a few minutes and close my eyes and cleanse my chakras, and that in itself I don't have an issue with. It's because in a way, even though that you can't really say that they're real, I can understand that they're using that as visualization techniques to maybe bring about some kind of awareness to their body, which is usually a good thing.
Oh, we all need
it's the
that.
same with martial arts. Why can't we say that chi is real? And
Right.
well,
yeah, because
chi isn't real. That's why. But in my, I do Aikido, and before people jump on me for not doing a authentic martial art or something,
He doesn't threaten me with eternal hell.
It's Aikido is both martial and to do with well-being and happiness and stuff. It's kind of in the middle, and you get two types of instructor in Aikido: one who genuinely believes ki is a thing, and one who doesn't believe in ki energy. Ki is just chi in Japanese. In ki energy, but uses it as a visualization so that you can picture your body moving in the most efficient and direct way to achieve maximum effect. But when they teach it, it's the same thing that they're teaching. It's just that there's no such physical field as chi. And
probably not. No?
It's like it's a piece of psychology perhaps, and it's beneficial in that way. But
like the placebo effect or whatever.
Yeah, because there's been a number of different instructors in karate and taekwondo, etc., who have convinced their students that they can knock them over with just a gesture and they'll fall over, and then when somebody from outside comes in, nothing happens because it's all
they get out. I mean, like the outside guy,
right?
Yeah, doesn't get affected by the gesture and just kind of punches them and it hurts them.
And then
I've been thinking of making videos about that as well because it's something I enjoy watching. But
well, I think
it's a critique. You could see it as a critique of a lot of martial arts in general, because in a lot of martial arts, because of the nature of they're your mates, you don't want to hurt them, you do tend to follow the leader. And even in jiu-jitsu or whatever, there's now in Aikido we see it and we try and become aware of it, but you can't fully get over it. If somebody throws you, you're going to want to go with them and let them. One, it helps them train their technique, but two, it stops anyone from getting hurt. So it's this this is a subconscious thing that we all go through. If somebody performs a throw on you, you might not resist it to your fullest extent and allow them to think that they're really good at it when maybe they're not.
So you just
I'm like a cat. My reflexes are quick.
in that situation, you have to be more aware that you're in a training environment, and so it's like you have to know what the off limit thing is. Like there's only so far I'll go, so to speak.
Yeah, in the form of martial arts I do, we use that to help train the other person, because somebody who's more senior will have more flexible joints and will know how to hit the floor harder and faster than somebody who's junior. So the more senior person not only is able to resist the junior more so, but can easily spot holes in a technique and switch it round. And if it was like a sparring session, they'd do that. But obviously the senior helps the junior train by going with them and taking the throw. But then the idea is that as you get more and more senior, you get more and more spontaneous, and eventually you just kind of throw people into the mat as hard as you can, and that's the idea. But it doesn't always work like that.
Okay,
but I can,
damn it, gravity.
and I can see this. It's not so difficult for a senior to train all their juniors into. I can see how that works. Like when you genuinely believe that person is throwing a ball of chi at you, then it might knock you off your feet.
I wish
that's what I'm saying. You have
chi.
to be, if you go into a situation where you're going to be trained, like military or karate or police or whatever, that you have to be. There has to be a thing where you say, okay, I will not do this, whatever that is, and you make people aware of that. That look, this is I'll only go so far, and it's like if you're gonna throw this chi ball at me, I'm not gonna fall over. Just
yeah, which is why that kind of which is why at the end of the day that kind of sensei, that chi artist sensei who challenged any martial artist to have a sparring session with him, I think that was a good thing for him to do. And when you look at the videos of that having happened, like the taekwondo guy comes in and
that guy,
the chi artist guy throws the ball of chi, and the taekwondo's like, meh, and then kicks him in the face.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. He just completely pwned the guy who thought she was. It was like he keeps like throwing a fireball from Street Fighter at him, but there's no fireball coming out, and the guy's just kicking him in the face over and over again. It's like, it's not working. It's not working.
Exactly, and that's and like a non-genuine, somebody who's a genuine non-genuine, somebody who's a trickster wouldn't challenge the world to that kind of thing. And there are these chi artists, self-proclaimed chi artists, who don't challenge the world, but the ones who do challenge the world and then get kicked, I at least respect their genuineness.
Yeah, I mean, at least he thought it was real. The one that thinks it's real is willing to challenge. The one that kind of suspects somewhere in their head that it might not be real won't challenge. I don't want to say they know that it's not real, because I don't want to mind read, but it's like you kind of go, that it's not real, don't you? And
they'll challenge in a way which makes it easy for them to back out of it or backtrack or something.
Now, speaking of karate, in the original Karate Kid movie and even in the new one, they do some mystical healing. With the first one, I think it was the cupping, and then I don't remember what the hell Jackie Chan does in the newer one, but they present it as if this is a thing that really works. So what you want to talk about cupping or things like this that
I've got friends who studied acupuncture, and I've seen this, and people do get genuinely convinced, and it's always an interesting conversation around the dinner table. So acupuncture really works, and I was like, well, does it? And people are so convinced.
But it's placebo, though. I mean, it's a placebo, right?
Yeah, I mean, acupuncture doesn't make sense, but because people are actually sticking needles in you, it seems more real somehow. I had a couple of goes helping my mate train to be an acupuncturist, and he put me in a chair, in a very comfortable chair, sat me back, put all these needles in me, and I couldn't move, because every time I tried to move even the tiniest muscle, I'd get this nerve pain shooting up and down. So I spent half an hour sat in a chair, essentially just meditating, like kind of sat here not moving a muscle, going, oh, this is quite comfy actually. Yeah, I could get used to this. And I can see how some benefit comes from that, but don't believe for a second it's the mechanism that they tell you it is.
And the same thing with cupping, that's where they take a glass jar and they
something missing in the puzzle there to me.
they put a burning paper in it and they put it on your back so it suctions in, leaves this giant welt on your back when they take it off.
Yeah, now that's a little bit. I've seen people have that treatment and enjoy it and get benefit from it, but obviously there's more dangers of damage and infection in that case.
Right. I mean, why would I mean, it is a placebo effect, so I mean, might as well just go ahead and take a placebo or take something like aspirin that is going to work, and then you not only does it actually work, but it works, so you believe it works, so you also have the placebo effect, even though it is actually going to work. So it's like
but there's this thing with acupuncture is that it's like the Western. No, it's not the Western mind. Some human people's minds like to seek alternative medicines because it gives them a sense of I know something that you don't over you average Joe who goes and eats an aspirin for a headache. It gives them a sense of pride, I think, that they know this. Or the thing, whereas rich people in China pay for Western medicine because it works,
right?
Whereas
and
poor people in China settle with the Chinese medicine because that's all they can afford.
Right, and it's also very dangerous. I mean, you're potentially risking your life. I mean, if they didn't in acupuncture, I mean, if the needle goes into you in the wrong spot or too deep or whatever, that's not good.
Yeah, there's always risks, and I mean, to me, I think the biggest risk is this kind of act of neglect that you can perform through alternative medicines. Is the the praying for your kid instead of taking them for a screen, or non-vaccination, and the neglect factor, the lack of trust in science-based medicine that can lead to neglect, to me is the biggest general risk. Obviously, there's risk of infection with needles, there's risk of infection with cupping, there's I've got a friend who studied herbalism, and they basically have to become a certified herbalist in the UK. They've essentially got to go through GP training, but from a herbalist, and learn the interactions between different chemicals. And part of me thinks, well, if you're going to do that, why don't you just study actual drugs rather than the raw herbs? Because the raw herbs are a bit more unpredictable. But I kind of like the ethics she comes at it from. She's a very nice, caring person who likes nature and leaves and plants and stuff. But she's having to study it properly. But so people who like herbalism, who haven't done that training, might get something wrong. And this, I can't remember what it is. Mrs. Chocolate's out here, she'll tell me. What's the thing with St. John's wort that you can easily get wrong?
Insurance with warfarin.
Oh yeah, warfarin.
The cytochrome 350.
Yeah. So and that's a danger of just getting something wrong out of ignorance and it having a profound effect.
Well, are we going to see a female owl then at some point?
Well, she's getting drawn more and more into doing stuff on the channel, so maybe. We have got a toy owl that she does like. It's kind of colourful and stuff because it's
toy owl. Why would an owl want a toy owl?
Well, I'm a toy owl.
no, wait, you're a toy owl? No, you're a real owl.
No.
Wait, what's going on with reality? Oh my word!
I think it was on your channel. Was it your? You were definitely involved in a hand reveal of the glove puppet, right?
I don't know, man. Secretly I'm an owl. I think that's the thing. It's like inside of me is actually an owl controlling all of my actions.
Yeah.
I got a what? Yes, I got a what? Exclamation. My work here is done. Good night, everybody. No, it's just a what?
Yeah.
Who's
Oh, well.
controlling you? Owl. Who? No, stop it.
Give a hoot.
Don't pollute, right? I don't think they have that.
Let's not get in a big flap about it. Eh?
They don't have that in Britain, I don't think. I don't know.
We're clawing at some thin jokes here.
What were we
He's got to pounce and carry us away at some point. You know.
I mean, I think we ran the gauntlet of all the quantum woo and ran out of. So now
I get you.
Now it's time for all the nonsense to begin. Wait, I mean, well, we were already talking. Well, woo is nonsense, but now other psychic phenomenon like reading minds and things like this, where again you have this. It is completely about tricking people into it, because it's not. You can't really do it, otherwise it would be demonstratable under controlled conditions, and every time it's been falsified, it hasn't worked. But it seems that there's this humanness wants there to be more than the mundane. Like the mundane isn't good enough for some people. Yeah. Like, and I find nature awesome, so I don't
Yeah, and I used to want there to be something more than the mundane, and this is maybe my deconversion story is slightly relevant here because well, in a nutshell, I went to school. My mum brought me up Church of England Christian, which is very moderate anyway, and I remember roughly at the age of 13 just waking up one day after having all these thoughts creeping into my brain, and one day I woke up and decided that it was all nonsense. But I guess the interesting thing for Americans here is that I went to school as a Christian and was the odd one out because nobody else was. But anyway, so later in my teenage years, I missed the lack of some greater power. I missed the mundane, so I became interested in. Well, I happened to know some Buddhists and became interested in like esoteric Buddhism and quantum woo for a bit, and then when I lived in a house with a computer and the internet, I learned my way out of it and became happy, satisfied with the awe of life in its mundane, realistic nature.
Yeah, I was just listening to a Symphony of Science song where, and in part of it, one of the scientists, I think it was Richard Feynman, is like it's really, really real, and it's like it's so amazing, and it's also
Neil deGrasse Tyson's quoted on one of those Symphony of Science is saying that we're connected to the universe.
I was thinking about that when you mentioned the people that want to become one with the universe. Like, you can't be more one with the universe than you already are.
Yeah, so exactly. We are one with the universe in that respect. But I mean, this is what's always interested me. So as a child, instead of having cartoons on my TV in my bedroom in the morning, there was a phase when I watched Open University Physics and astronomy, which fascinated me, even though I didn't stand the jot of it at the time. I still don't to a large extent. And but I've always, throughout various periods of realism and idealism in my life, I've always had this idea that somewhere there's this connection between ancient, ancient wisdom traditions, like various types of Buddhism and Taoism, and modern science, and that's a common thing you hear woo artists say, but I don't think that's entirely inaccurate. I think some people and Sam Harris touches on this, and I know people criticize Sam Harris as well, but I mean, he said to Deepak Chopra that he's studied with people who live in caves and done that kind of meditation and not once talked quantum physics, yet that there is this similarity in what like ancient raw Buddhism, perhaps atheistic Buddhism says, is that happiness is something that you bring about on your own, and we are one with the universe, and what we do affects other people, and that in itself is where I've come to, I guess. That is true, and you don't have to be a woo artist, you don't have to be idealist or religious to understand that.
No.
We are created out of stardust or whatever. We're created out of particles which are been contained in this closed system for a long time. Oh, it's a wife is singing in the background.
Awesome.
And that in itself is worth being completely awe-inspired by, and this is why I like Richard Feynman in particular as well, because he was absolutely awe-inspired by physics.
Right. I mean,
the
the way things are. I mean, it is amazing, and to be. That's one thing when I as I had lost faith, although I don't think I lost anything, but I'm not sure how else to put it, that I gained more. I as a kid, I loved science, but I rekindled this love of science. Like, I watched Neil deGrasse Tyson's Cosmos, and at the end of every episode, I was crying. It's like every episode made me cry. It's like it was just so, like, wow. Okay, I want more of this. And so, if we're gonna say you can't, we're definitely spiritual, quote unquote. Although I don't like that word. Without the need of spirits, if you will.
But yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson is up there in my list of people who know the science and can communicate it poetically.
Yeah.
He's a genius in that respect, and in many other respects as well. But that's his thing. He's funny. He's poetic. He has this kind of. I'm not going to say divine sense, but he has this thing which, understanding the vastness and the complexity and the beauty of the universe does to people, which a lot of scientists don't show in public, or if they well, no, even that's not even wrong. A lot of scientists are not associated with, even though they actually do. If you saw the announcement of the Higgs boson in Geneva in 2000 and whatever year it was, when Peter Higgs was there, sat crying. He's like, maybe scientists are unfairly given that kind of emotionless persona, because actually they do get really into it. And in fact, one of my favourite things that Dawkins has done recently was the interview he did with, I think it's called Satish Kumar, who's an Indian guy who has some possibly Hindu derived. Oh, is he a Jain? Yeah. Oh, he's a Jain. He's into Jainism, which so he has a spiritual point of view. And Dawkins is, Dawkins, biologist, and they have this wonderful conversation. And at some point through the conversation, Dawkins actually literally says, "Well, the point of this interview is so that we can disagree on something," and starts talking about some details. But that was a brilliant conversation for me, because it was two people who have mutual respect for Bertrand Russell, for one thing.
Okay, I've come up with a new interview question, and I want to retroactively ask all the other people that I didn't ask before. They asked Bernard Russell this. What
Bertrand.
Bertrand? I said it wrong.
Bertrand.
I've been saying names wrong this whole time.
Yeah, I've caught you saying this before. It's Bertrand Russell.
I can't. It's been a well-established fact that I cannot say words right, so it's not going to change now. Anyways, okay. Pretend. I can't say it that way.
Bertie Russell.
I'm dead now. I can't say what I wanted to say. Like, okay, what would your legacy want to be? And then he says the thing that I absolutely love is, I'll say, the philosoph, the moral thing, and then the other thing. And he says, ask yourself only what are the facts and what is it the facts bear out. So what would be like a time capsule-ish saying to like that to put out there for you, Chocolate Hat? You know,
For me,
just, not to put you on the
God.
spot or anything. Just come up with something epic for the ages. Come on, that's easy.
Be happy, respect other people, wear appropriate.
Well,
I don't know. Nature is awesome and full of beauty and all that kind of nonsense, I guess.
Chocolate hat. Nature is full of beauty and all that nonsense. That needs to be a shirt or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you could run with that, I'm sure.
So where is Comptingham?
Where's what?
Comptingham. Where's that at in Britain?
London.
No. Say it again. Where's what?
Comptingham. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Comptingham.
Yeah.
Where you get that from?
Oh, one guy said that's where he's from.
Oh, is it? As what in the comments? Oh, I don't know.
No, it's not in the comments. I just he asked me a while back, or he told me that a while back, and I was just wondering where that was.
I don't know.
Suburb of London, I suppose, or something. Huh?
Possibly.
That's
Yeah,
the only question I got.
Could be southwest. It could be like Devon and Wiltshire or something. I don't know. It could be absolutely bloody anywhere. It could be Australia for all that.
I don't think they're.
So where do you hail from? If you want to give us a general geography of. You know what? I'm going to stop talking. I've been up too long.
Next to the Blarney Stone.
Yeah. So, so where am I from? In general terms, I'm from Derbyshire, North Derbyshire in Britain. And here's a quick lesson for all you people in the USA: is that the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland is the sovereign state, and that loosely equates to the United States of America in terms of its legal status. And England, Wales, and Scotland are all what loosely analogous to states of like Texas and Kansas or whatever.
There's a lot of words
because a lot of people don't seem to understand that. I was originally born and brought up in England, but some of my family were Welsh, and so I was always in Wales as a child, and I've ended up moving to North Wales. So that's where I live now, and I've been learning Welsh as a second language, and so I'm originally from like the uplands in central England. So
what's the deal with that whole Brexit thing? Can you summarize that in like a simple sentence?
I'm skeptical it's ever going to happen. I'm not going to mention opinions, but I'm just skeptic. There's too much faffing around, and there's too much,
it's like we were talking about before, where there's no nuance in the discussion. Where if you're for it or against it, it's just you're this or you're that, and you can't be anywhere in the middle. And there's that's it.
Philosophy can be like mental masturbation, and politics is like rhetoric masturbation or
asking the impossible always.
I am not okay. I'll mention my position. I am not for Brexit, but if we are going to have it, I'd appreciate it done in the best possible way, and the way they're proposing to do it is not the best possible way from my point of view. But from the day that the referendum was won by the pro-Brexit, from the conduct of the leader, from the day Boris Johnson resigned and then Farage resigned, when they should have kind of been dancing the victory dance, I've just stood back and thought, this is just posturing. This isn't going to happen. And with Theresa May, she took the reins, and she's been like dilly-dallying, not quite going through with committing to it. And I mean, it might happen. I won't kick myself if it does. but the way they're going about it is just laughable, you know. And the thing leading up to Brexit, again, there's this thing we were talking about earlier before we went live, is the quality of debate, I think, was atrocious.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, you know, as an American, it's like I just have no idea. I mean, the only thing I can even try to picture is if Texas or California did manage to secede from the union or whatever, and what kind of chaos that would, you know, cause, and how irritated, you know, a lot of people would be about it one way or the other, you know, and that's probably not very comparable. But you know,
Minnesota, Canada will take us.
The closest I can come to trying to, you know, put myself in the shoes of that and try to figure out what it would feel like or be like or whatever.
well, for me, the quality of debate was the same quality of debate as in the run up to the presidential elections. It was very much just people throwing lies and mistruths, and you know, on both sides. It doesn't matter who you can, you know, it was like this choice of, like, you know, imagine you got up one morning and you was in a hotel and the waiter came up to you and said, "Sir, would you like dog shit on your cornflakes or cat shit on your cornflakes today?" It's like, well, neither. They both sound like bad options if you ask me. And that's, you know, like, but, you know, and then you get all these people saying, "Well, cat shit is great and flawless because of this," and somebody else saying, "Well, dog shit is great and has no flaws because of this," and you look at it both, it's like, well, that's a really shit debate. And it's like, you know, like, if we're going to do this properly, I'd like some actually, you know, some quality debate talking about real issues and not just throwing shit at the other team. And that's what I got from Brexit pretty much all the way through. You know, I had my own ideas of what I'd like to see the outcome being, but you know, both the pro and the anti were not really talking about those. They were, you know, publicly, you know, the big voices were just talking nonsense.
It just seems there's no common ground anymore for a lot of people. It just seems that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because no matter what, life is going to change for people. So
yeah,
you know, change is always difficult, and
not much free will.
There's a lot to worry about because there's so many different borders. See, that's the other thing that it's like, I don't know what that's like because I've only been in America, so I'm not like near a border or, you know, somebody that.
Something that you get comfortable with in Europe, if you get like 10 years of a border not changing, everyone starts sitting fat, dumb, and happy now. It's like, oh, this is how Europe is now. Or, you know, like in Sudan, they had that big split, which is surrounded in atrocious war, and you know, and borders shift and they move, and there's wars fought over, there's political wars, and there's, you know, all this, that, and the other, and yeah, and it's happening again. And you know, there was a Scottish referendum, which happened before Brexit, and then they've been talking about doing that if Brexit goes ahead, and then they're saying Northern Ireland will have a Northern Irish referendum and all this, and yeah, it's.
I'm sure glad I opened that can of worms.
Yeah,
Let's talk about Quantum Woo. That was like you were less angry about Quantum Woo.
And here we are talking about Brexit.
Yeah, well, you know,
which is why I don't talk about any of this stuff on my channel, is because there's
Oh yeah, I don't even talk politics in my personal life because I hate it. It's too deep.
Yeah, so I don't talk politics on my channel. I don't talk about social justice or SJWs or anti-SJWs on my channel because of the same reasons. I disagree with everyone practically.
Well, for me, politics has nothing to do with science.
It's like, look, everyone's wrong except for me. That's my politics, you know.
Yeah, you know, I'm right.
I'm right. You're wrong. The end. Okay.
Yeah, and that, you know, historically is how people have settled politics. I mean,
yeah.
You're not a good politician unless you're pissing somebody off. That's all I know.
With what else? What other nonsense can I get into? I don't know. What's the deal with tea? I don't know.
Tea? I'm drinking a cup of tea right now, actually.
Yes, the stereotype is true. Yay!
I'm a big tea drinker. Whereas if you go on somebody like Lindy Bage's channel, he tries to be the stereotype, typical British person, yet he likes coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah, no, I'm a big tea drinker. I like my tea. I like tea and I like ale, and that's.
I like black and tans myself.
Sorry.
I like black and tans, Bass Ale and Guinness together.
Oh, is it? Oh, don't mention black and tans. Oh no, that's a political subject too, isn't it?
Really?
I like green tea. Yeah, I like some different teas. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, that's just a common. There's so many common tropes with with all that stuff. Different stereotypes that I'm aware of. It's like it was again the whole. Still trying to wrap my head around that Scotland didn't invent bagpipes. That's just ever since that my mind's been blown.
You got to remember now there's stereo surround types.
I'm like, well, after that, I was like, maybe quantum mechanical woo could be a thing, and then he ruined that.
No,
there's nothing left now.
Yeah. Sorry.
Let's talk about making videos. You've made a number of videos. You got a whole bunch of people that like you, apparently.
Yeah, that quite amazes me actually. Why I don't know, but yeah.
You don't know why they like you?
Well, because it's like any kind of art. You make art and you put it up to be appreciated, and somebody's going to appreciate it, aren't they?
And everybody loves shock.
Yeah.
You got the right name.
No, I think everyone likes owls.
Well, yeah. Do you know, it was completely incidental, the whole owl thing. Loads of people have told me that it was a really good metaphor.
Stop ruining my fantasy that the owl is real.
Owl's not real.
You are an owl. This is how it works.
The owl's not real?
He is an actual owl that can talk like a human, okay?
Well, what do we got him on for?
That's how the owl is this glove puppet that has a consciousness, and I'm just a clumsy human producer.
Yeah, the hand was just like a metaphor for the soul and then quantum physics. I don't know, man. Yeah, the owl. Why the owl? No, okay. Somebody does want Lady Unicorn. I shouldn't say somebody. I should say Lady Unicorn. EJG, which must stand for something cool. Wanted to know why the owl.
Elizabeth Jane Gardiner, I'm going to guess, but that could be entirely wrong. I apologize. That's what I see.
Epic.
But Lady Unicorn is obviously the salient point in your name, and that's a brilliant name.
No, I want to say epic jamming girl. There. That's my. There.
Yeah.
All right. Why the owl?
Why the owl? Because it was my favorite of my daughter's toys at the time, and it happened to be. I was looking for some kind of puppet because, why? The real reason is because I'm absolutely useless at operating computers. Really. Oh yeah, I got 1/3 of that right. Brilliant. Thank you. No, I'm pretty useless at doing. I mean, you may have noticed if you go back and watch my very early videos, there was one on Masaru Emoto, and the water droplet thing, and there's one on John Hagelin and the early Sheldrake videos. All of those, you'll notice that everything is just done by hand, and so my screen title is written on a piece of paper with a pen, which is why my modern screen, even though I animate it, is a notepad with writing across the front going the wrong way towards where the lines go, and that's just a recreation of how I did it in the first place before I knew how to make composite images. And the owl was so I didn't have to animate an avatar.
Yeah.
So I chose a puppet, and my favorite one at the time, just because I like it, was the tawny owl. So I found some ridiculous hat that was lying around the house and put it on the owl's head, precariously balanced, and did it that way. And I still don't know how to animate, so there you go.
And that's
owl
the
stays.
story of how a mild-mannered reporter became. Wait, what?
What are you saying about me, you cunt?
I don't know. Hey, Johnny, can you put that thing that I put in the chat? I can't put it in the outside chat.
Oh, hold on a second.
Or click on it and then share it with everybody, like on the screen or something, so that we can all enjoy what I've made. Yeah, report me, block me. That's good. Just remove me. Whatever. I don't care anymore.
Trying to figure out how to view the.
What else could EJJG? Wow, I can't even say the words. Elegant, jumping, giraffe. Elephant, jaguar, goose.
Every jar gold.
Each this is the point of the hangout where we've run out of things to say.
Right,
as I was trying to think of more things that EJG could be, I realized, nobody else is going to enjoy watching this later.
I'll fire up the 5150 guitar and we'll try and do It's a Long Way to the Top to Rock and Roll, and you can do the bagpipes on it.
Yeah, I'll have a go.
Yeah. He could do it's not exactly bagpipe. They're not called that. He plays a different thing with a specialized name. Huh?
They are bagpipes. They are bagpipes. They're just different types of bagpipes, and there's more bagpipes than you'll ever believe.
Yeah, it's like a special name though to it, right? Though.
Well,
they all come with 3 haggis, right?
Every bagpipe has its special name. The ones that you see as bagpipes are called the Great Highland Pipes or the Irish War Pipes, depending on whose side you're on. So that's just a specific type of bagpipe. I've got Borders pipes and I've got pastoral pipes, and that's just what I play. Borders pipes are the ones that I do all my theme music with, it turns out.
Cool. You're still not sharing this image. This is okay.
You are a moderator now, and you can add the link now.
Oh, I can? Okay, fine. I can do that. Woo. Yeah. No, I didn't. Nope, didn't work.
It should be.
You lie.
You gotta refresh it.
You lie.
I'm not lying.
Screen share. Maybe I can do that. I don't know. Oh, yes, I am screen sharing. Oh, yes. Okay. Don't look at my screen.
So, Johnny, I saw you write a big list at some point of instruments you play.
Me?
What do you play? Yeah.
What do I play? Guitar is kind of my main thing. Whatever. I'd say I'm a singer-songwriter. That's the best way to describe me.
Yeah, I've seen you play bluesy stuff on your channel.
Yeah. What else? A couple days ago, I kind of working on a little piece that I've been working on for a while. But after my dog died, I kind of left it in the back burner for about 10 years, and I finally got to kind of working on it. So
yeah,
there. Behold, I have memified chocolate hat.
Circular Reasoning. That's the name of it.
Yeah. Is it working? Do you see my screen?
I don't know.
Okay. Well.
Hold on.
All right. If I click over, then it will screw up. So.
Yeah, can you put it on the chat?
I guess
the chat.
I thought I was screen sharing, but I guess I'm not. Oh.
Oh, maybe because I'm screen sharing. I gotta turn it off then.
Oh yeah. Oh, never mind then. No, let's not do that, because you know what? This joke will just be a joke later. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll all laugh at it later.
Yeah.
So, I've
let me screen share. Now, Lady Unicorn's making fun of me. Let me screen share. Don't look at my screen. That's what I said. Oh my word! It's bigger now.
Yeah. So, Johnny, do you play bass as well?
Yeah.
I play bass. I play guitar and bass as well as.
Okay,
bagpipes.
yeah, I didn't even know that you played actually until I heard Deconverted Man talking to you about the bagpipes.
Yeah, I play guitar, I play bass, play bagpipes, and play fiddle as well.
Awesome.
Oh, so you could dance with the devil in the moonlight as you play the fiddle.
Yeah. I'm thinking we could do some collaboration where we work on collaborate on the music as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say we need. I think there is a desperate need for more secular atheist music out there because there's some, but hey, more is good, right?
But you're looking in the wrong places clearly because there's loads out there actually.
I guess I am looking in the wrong place. Actually, probably I'm not looking.
Have you ever done that thing where you have this favorite musician for ages, or at least like one of your well-respected musicians, and you turn out that they're absolutely nutcase with bizarre points of view? And then it kind of puts you off their music forever after that.
Well, no. I mean, because I don't care what they do. I just know. It's like if I like a song, then I like that song. That's really
okay. Because I was thinking, there's quite a lot of I like quite a lot of instrumental music, which doesn't really put a theistic point of view across. And then I found out that one of my favourite jazz pianists was a what's it called, a L. Ron Hubbardist. What's it called? That's
a Scientologist.
Yeah.
L. Ron Hubbardist. I like that.
L. Ron Hubbardist. That is great.
I mean, he set out to create a religion, and he did. And he was his family and well off. So he's gone. But rolling in the money, pretty good. Big giant blue building.
Succeeded in life in that respect, even though.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm going to con people. It works.
Actually, I got my friend. Except I'm in Minnesota yet, but I got an audio processor too to do some recording straight into the computer now. So
I'm gonna throw lyrics at you guys and just be like, "Here, make this a song." Yeah.
You're gonna throw lyrics at us like bananas at a screen.
Pretty much. I mean, look, I can't make the music, so I'll just be like, "Here, guys, make this. Make this happen. Make this real. Do it."
As long as you throw lyrics at Johnny and not me, then I'm happy.
Look, I'm throwing it at both of you until you. No. It doesn't matter if you're happy. I'm just gonna do it. You can't stop me.
Did you let this guy in here, Chocolate?
Blah, lyrics everywhere. Blah. Okay, I'm okay.
He's just coming over here and taking over my hangout.
Look, Johnny said I could be in here, so it's his fault.
You begged me. Don't even go there.
No. I was like, can I? I thought this was yesterday too, so that was really weird.
I mean, like, okay, yeah. So this is like first thing in the morning for you. How come you're all awake and everything?
Oh, because I've been awake since sometime last night because I don't know how to sleep anymore.
My nights and days are backwards, and my days and nights. And I haven't been working for a week, so it's really screwed up now.
So you're more of a night owl than I am, really, in that respect.
I've been that way my whole life, but I've been awake so much I've lived.
Wait, Johnny, you're an owl too?
Well, don't tell anybody. It only happens when the camera's not on me.
Oh God, everybody's owls.
It only happens to the best people.
For you, though, right?
Yeah. If I could only wrap this back around and make it about lobsters, my life would be complete.
Oh
well.
Okay, here's a joke for you. Here's a musical joke for you both to appreciate. What's better than lobsters on your piano?
A tuna fish.
Crabs on your organ.
The upright organ.
I dare say you probably didn't get that.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh no, yes, I know it's me not getting. Oh, sorry. Yes, you're upright. Oh, shut up, me.
I guess that joke fell B flat. Or not.
Well, as soon as we need banana, if you don't C sharp, you'll B flat. Yes, all that.
Right. Well, but C Sharp's a programming language, so
I thought I was C plus.
It's also C Sharp.
Is it?
I think so.
Oh, there you go.
Sea shark lives in the sea and they eat other fish.
It smells like E minor. Isn't that guy? You used to do something with that guy in that channel a while back, didn't you, Chicago?
Well, I still do. We still, well, theoretically at least, we all still do the Taking a Look At channel together.
No.
We do. I've been so busy recently. I've not been able.
Oh
to
man, that reminded me of that channel. I'll be back when my brain works.
Oh, me too. Do you know I'm feeling a bit like that myself? It's like 10:30 here is actually a reasonable time, but my brain isn't working.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter. We're just hanging out in my drive-by here.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. Yeah, and
we ran the gauntlet. See, what we did is we exhausted our brains by talking about complicated things, and then I made it about politics. That was a big mistake. Then I made it back about like
banned you right there.
Yeah, then we came here. I don't know how we got here, but we're here, and we exist here now.
Oh, this is gonna be a creed from now on. No more politics.
I don't know. I think that might have been the burnout point. That might have been too much. That I pushed it over the edge. It's my fault. I'll take that hit.
It's one of those. Politics always tends to rile people, doesn't it?
Unless it doesn't.
Well, unless it. Well, yes.
So I love that. It's like you can take any always and make it into a sometimes because
well, you can.
Yeah.
You can because of logic.
Yeah, that's how because of logic.
It should
Logic
be. That's one of my pet words that I hate. Should.
Yeah.
Should be. What?
Yeah. Should be according to who? Mm-hmm. Should be what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get
logic is always logical.
You get that? I get a lot where people will say your logic, and I'm like, well, you can't. It's not my. It's all of our. It's nobody owns what. You get some odd comments on your channel from stuff that you've done, right?
I get comments on my channel that make me laugh and cry and just have me in stitches with how stupid they are and rile me into wanting to punch them. But obviously you can't do that. The computer screen tends to stop that kind of behavior.
Is it ignorance, or is it that they is that they're saying something that's so ignorant that it's just you can't even explain it to them? Or
yeah, sometimes that is definitely the case. I have people who make valid comments on my channel who are often scientifically educated, a lot more so than me perhaps, and that they might entirely disagree with the point, but they're always reasonable. And yeah, that isn't always actually. The more knowledgeable in the subject they're picking me up on, they are reasonable. Whereas I can usually tell somebody who's a nonsense monkey because they open their comment with "You're such a fucking shitting, stupid, cunting, wanking,"
or you're a righty wing or lefty wing or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, whatever.
Like, I mean, the funniest ones are, you're just criticizing Teal Swan because you're either jealous or you're not happy with yourself or you don't understand or you're closed-minded, and those make me giggle.
Oh, those mind-reading ones. That always gets under my skin a little bit. It's like, oh, I know that you feel this way. Like, no, you don't. You must hate this person. That's why you're doing this. What? What?
And there was a point where I try and answer everybody, but it was just getting far too tiring because so many people would come back to you with these drawn-out arguments, which were all entirely fallacious. And
have you been told to like read a list of books at all?
I've been referred to other videos of even greater nonsense and woo in the comments.
Yeah, somebody was like, "Have you read this and this and this and this and this?" Like they had like 20 different books, and I'm like, "No, I haven't read them." Well, then you're not educated on this subject. I'm like, "Well, I guess not." You're right.
Yeah.
But what I say for that sort of thing is you know, you don't have to know what 75 billion to the power of 85.7 is to know that the answer is not 0. I mean, you don't need to know the answer to know what the answer isn't. So maybe I don't know the answer, but I can eliminate a lot of things that it isn't because of
the the sort of videos that I tend to deal with. There's a sort of person who comments on the videos who in support of the people that I'm criticizing actively don't believe in falsifying things to accept them as true. They're very much a kind of, well, it's true for me and I know it's true, and that's the base assumption, and you can't argue with that in the comments section.
Right. I mean, you know, when you go into
that kind of that's
being able to test something like on the great debate community that I recently jumped into. I don't know why it seemed like a good idea. Anyways, so I've been doing some more tech stuff while I try to get my brain around the video that I'm going to do. Oh God. Anyways, it's one of those.
You'll do it.
It's hard, man. You don't understand. The guy's doing a lecture while he's playing Sonic the Hedgehog. So I'm sitting there trying to analyze what he's saying in the lecture and ignore the fact that he's playing Sonic the Hedgehog. It's really cognitive dissonance at this point. I don't know what it is. It's messing with my brain. Anyway, so they said something like, you know, if you donate to a charity, a worthy cause, and you'll get this extra blessing. So I tried to pin them on what they meant by this, you know, because it seemed like, okay, we have a testable thing here. So I said, well, there's a food bank. Would that be a worthy thing? Yes. Okay. So if I give them 1 apple, when should I expect more? And what would that look like? Will I get 2 apples? Will I get 1 apple and a penny? You know, and I said, couldn't you and if this really worked, could I set up a shelter for orphans and you set up a shelter for widows? Because both of those are mentioned in the Bible. And then we just donate to each other. Like if I donate $100 to you, well, I'm going to get more back at some point magically from God, I guess. And if you donate to me, you'll get more back. And so we'll just infinitely feed money into each other and just get all this money for free.
Well, there's no way in any system of logic or non-logic that should work, because that, you know, that's always going to be
if it was true that, you know, when you gave you got more back, like,
well, but the giving would have to have a result that's net worth is more than nothing, surely.
Right. Well, yeah, but I mean, this is you know. So I was trying to figure out a way to test it, and finally they were like, "I'm not gonna define it further or whatever," and that was just like the end of the conversation. So when I got them pinned down to where I could maybe get it tested, that's when they ended the conversation. So it's like,
yeah, people are quite good at that.
Yeah, and it's again where I don't want to say that they know that it's fake, because that's mind reading. I don't want to do that, you know. But it's like, why else would they stop unless something in their brain clicked and goes, that's it, that's the end of this conversation. Because if I keep going, if I keep trying to test it, I'll find out that it's not really going to work, and I want to believe that it really works. So somewhere in their brain, I want to think that they kind of know, but I don't know how to put that in a way that wouldn't commit the logical fallacy of mind reading. So I need to come up with a better way to say that. But whatever.
Well, yeah, I also get the sort of person who is adamantly convinced about something, but and in the comments is willing to put forward argument after argument after argument after argument, and it's like that Hovind effect, Hovind Senior effect, where if you machine gun so many arguments, then the person you're trying to argue gets bored of unpicking and responding to each one in a sane, rational kind of way. So that stops the argument as well. Is it the opposite effect of that? It's like you throw so many logical arguments that the person that you're debating just gets bored. And it's like, yeah, can't be bothered anymore. I haven't got the energy for this to keep it up.
Well, yeah, there's that too, of course. I mean, because
I get quite a lot of that in my comments. The people who make the biggest noise often are the ones who will write essay after essay after essay. And if you bear in mind, I've got loads of people that I'm trying to converse with, and there's this one person who's writing essay after essay. It's like that tends to close conversations down too. I struggle with that. So I've started to the point now where I look at a comment and think, is it worth my time engaging with this particular person, or is what's said in the video enough? And so a lot of the times I ignore comments that are just going to be antagonistic or just going to be closed-minded.
Yeah, I mean, because you're not really convincing them. It's the audience always, and so there's only so much where you kind of go, okay, this is as far as this makes sense to go. You have to, I mean, I came to you. I was debating a lot in text format on a forum that was active for quite some time. At least a year, it was pretty active. Then it kind of died out. Oddly enough, after I left, which, kind of coincidental. It's still around. But, it's like, okay, well, this is, nice, and I've learned a lot, but I need to do videos because this is picking up. This is a thing now. So, and of course, YouTube is ginormous as far as, how it can get people to hear ideas and I've learned a lot of science from it and a lot of philosophy. I've learned a lot of different things from a lot of different people, on this thing. And, it's my TV. I don't watch TV. I have, this and, there's places I can go and watch movies or whatever online. And it's like, I hate commercials. So get me away from those. I don't want those ever again.
No. No, adverts are bad, you know me. But yeah. Now going back to the comments thing, every time I run out of an idea for a video, I haven't got time to produce. I feel like I don't have enough time to produce a timely video that's worth watching. I was thinking, should I do interesting comments? And I think to myself, I've got so many videos with so many crazy comments that I think that it would be a huge task. And the comments I find funny probably aren't actually funny to other people. And they're also, so many crazy comments. How would you choose the best comments when the entire channel is littered with craziness? I mean, that's the thing with YouTube. Once you open this the debate platform to everyone in the world,
the floodgate has opened. Bring it on. Yeah.
And this is why people look down on YouTube as a platform for debate. I actually think it's quite a good platform for debate because it's reasonably.
I think it's better than people slugging it out.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we need to be able. And I was just, I was talking about freedom of speech lately, and how that we have to have an open marketplace of ideas. This is how we propel society forward, because the good ideas will survive. Well, hopefully. We don't know that, but hopefully they will.
Eventually, they will, because whoever survives is going to be, their ideas are going to be good, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that works on a short-term basis, but in the long term, peace does work in the long term. I mean, we're social creatures, and it's just how it works, how it functions.
Yeah.
But in the same way, the ideas, the memes that we throw out there are going to be good, bad, and somewhere in between. And you can't just say, oh, no, I don't like, can't say that because I don't like that. It hurts my feelings. Like, it might hurt your feelings. I mean, I've had my feelings hurt, but you have to set that aside because the argument matters, and the logic matters, and you know, like we're talking about politics and things like that. It's sometimes very difficult to be logical and rational and stick to the facts because these things affect your life. So it's like, if we vote this way, it's going to make my life really good. If we vote that way, it might make my life really bad, or it might be just complete unknowns. So there's a panic there. So so it's very hard to temper emotion when you're considering the fact that this is going to change your life and the life of other people as well. So, you know, but we have to.
In particular, people have their their spiritual self invested in the subject, which to them is a huge thing. And that's brought up all the time.
Yeah, because you take it.
That's why you offend religious. Well, that's, you know.
That the God is them.
Well, look at the people that are addicted to trying to find perpetual motion machines.
That is kind of an odd phenomenon too, where people have absolutely.
I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same sort of woo where it's like, look, it's not going to work. That's just the universe will not allow it. It just won't happen. And it's again where.
Want to test it before we give up wasting public money trying.
And they try every test, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. I mean, people come up with some pretty clever ways to try to get it.
I have to give them that, but
it's like, look, it's just not going to work.
Don't happen.
It's not.
None of it. I mean, even this had me in stitches. I was once watching a video on an engineer from Boeing talking about the falsehoods of what people get taught when it comes to aerodynamic lift. Why do planes stay in the sky? And it turns out, like everything, the answer's not simple. The textbook answers, even pilot training line, isn't exactly true. It isn't. It's a lot more complicated than anyone thinks, and it's not the Bernoulli effect, or it is, but maybe not all of it is Bernoulli effect. It's not Newton's second law. It is, but not completely, and it's not the coriander effect. It is, but you know, there's more to it than all that. Indeed, and this. So I listened to that with great interest because I like, you know, I'm pedantic like that, and I like to say, that's not how planes fly. Well, it is a little bit perhaps, but not very. But he moved on to the subject of some designs that people had come up with, which are, and these are, but bear in mind, these are aerospace engineers who have come up with designs which are as ridiculous nearly as perpetual motion machines. And what they were proposing, and these are genuine things that people have proposed in the history of aviation, things on the end of an aeroplane's wing tips which use energy to then stop wingtip vortices. And if you don't know what wingtip vortices, it's a result of the differential between the higher pressure and the lower pressure underneath and on top of a wing, and that creates you know, like if you swish your hand in water, the differential creates these little whirlpools, and that's what wingtip vortice is. And so people have come up with crazy ways of getting rid of wingtip vortices, thinking that if you actively put energy into flattening out these vortices, then you'll save lift-induced drag. And of course, no, you end up spending far more energy and drag coming up with these machines that people have, you know, these engineers have proposed putting on wingtips of aeroplanes. It's self-defeating, and it's obviously self-defeating. And there's a lot of really well-educated people who just can't see that it's self-defeating.
Well, there's things that, like the woo with magnets and stuff too. You know, there's a woo with it that you can go. Hey,
magnets. How do they work? Right.
That might if I can get that perpetual machine to do it forever, right?
It has become a meme, to quote the Insane Clown Posse, and they, in fact, the latest atheist experience I watched, somebody called in with the earth, air, fire, water, however, magnets, how do they work, or whatever the line is from the Insane Clown Posse thing, where the song is like the we don't know how magnets work. It must be magic. Basically, is what the song is saying, and the hosts were just totally like expressionless. Like, yeah, that's an interesting question. How do you think they work? And he couldn't troll them. It was amazing. It was just like, dude, you failed at your troll. Now they're talking to you, and you're responding like a normal person because you don't know what to do because they didn't react to your troll. It was just epic. I was like,
isn't like gravity and magnetism?
Yeah, magnets, man. Oh man, like come on, like come on, dude, come on. I mean, they're cool. I listened to Richard Freeman explaining magnets, and he's like, I can't really do it because I have to tell you what they're like, and that's not very fair. You know?
Yes, yeah. And then there's a point. Yeah, he goes on about but you can ask why at every level of the explanation, can't you?
Right, exactly. You can.
Why?
So it's an endless onion of layers. Although that's why, you know, with our video where we got to the smallest thing, which is the essence of all things, as far as we know, might be string or might be something else. But it's like, or is that as small as it goes? Or
42.
Well, you see, if I was to admit to one belief that I wouldn't say I have a religious belief, but one thing that what it is my idea of how it's going to turn out, but it's not actually based on anything at the minute, is that we're going to discover that whether or not it strings, there is a layer of something smaller than the quanta that we now know.
Yeah,
because that's that's a trend that's continued from the past, isn't it? You know,
it might continue infinitely, or there might be a thing where
that infinite regress.
Yeah, but at the moment we don't know. Are we ever going to know it? Don't know. And on the large scale, perhaps the same is true. We can't say, is the universe infinite or is it finite? We can't say. We can say what the implications of both are, and the implications of an infinite universe are pretty disgusting, if you ask me. Don't like it, but you have to accept that it's possible. But I suspect that we're going to find that maybe like the universe is maybe like a quanta in some higher order of event, but you just can't say, you can't pronounce any certainty, and we'll try to. And
well, thinking infinitely is a really hard concept to really
I'm probably going to be talking about infinity again in this upcoming analysis, because it's another redux of. See, I can't. If I don't do the Sonic video, then I'm definitely going to do this other video, which is going to be much shorter than the Sonic one. But it was Quantist argument of motion, and it can't be infinity. It can't be, and this is just asserted as brute fact that it cannot be an infinite regress. And I'm like, how do you know that it can't be that? You're just saying that because your argument will fail if you don't say that. But it's weird because there is a special
an appeal to personal incredulity, or like
and
an assertion, was it when you repeat an assertion fallacy?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Because if your argument is propped up by this thing that it can't be infinite.
Ad nauseam.
Or the same is true for people say, well, it has to be infinite. There's no other way. That's the same.
But it can be.
It could be. I don't know, and that's the thing. The other problem with Saint Augustine, I mean, there's many problems with Saint Augustine's argument. Is it's based on observed thing, which is great, but the problem is it's like we have cause and effect, and I've seen cause and effect my whole life. And then you get into back to where we started with quantum, where it's like, and I was just asking King Crocodile on Twitter, although I don't know if he'll tell me, are these quantum particles popping in uncaused, or am I just not? Do I not know what the hell's going on? Like, can you explain this to me? Because if it is the case that quantum particles pop in uncaused, then that ruins the cosmological argument completely. If they're popping in, if they're popping in and we don't know the cause, but there could be a cause, then you have that room of ignorance and there. So
I'm sure King Crocodile's reply will be a lot more well informed than mine, but I think that's still an area of we don't have a definite answer of whether theoretical particles actually exist or could be said to exist in a real way rather than just being the results of the maths, or what their cause is, because I mean there's still deep within quantum physics there's still this kind of mystery. Is quantum phenomena, is it probabilistic or is it deterministic? And I don't, people have ideas, but I don't think there's a concrete foundation yet. I mean, if you look at the pilot wave theories, it's deterministic. If you look at the Copenhagen interpretations, it's probabilistic, and there's no answer.
Yeah.
There are answers, but there's no universally agreed theory that is based on testable hypotheses that have been verified.
So we don't know if they're caused or uncaused yet.
As far as I understand it, in my limited understanding, that's where we're at. We don't know.
Okay, sure enough. So I put that out.
We know there is, and this is what really fascinates me. Dark energy. We know that there is this negative pressure that's accelerating space. It's pushing space apart, and gravity isn't strong enough to overcome it. And that negative pressure kind of ties in with quantum field theory, although the two answer, the measured effect and the predicted effect do not reconcile, but they both agree that there is this negative pressure. And because the universe is accelerating, and quantum field theory predicts an accelerating universe. The problem is quantum field theory predicts an exploding universe, and which obviously isn't.
Well, that almost makes sense, though. What if it's like a pulsing, you hit a pond and it has two waves coming through like that? What if it's kind of expanding like that?
I like that Neil was talking about, like, we could be, the whole universe could be at the edge of a event horizon or in a black hole, and there'd be no way to tell the difference between it not being, because of the way that time dilates and all this. So it's like maybe the universe is just in a giant black hole. Okay, well now my mind is completely gone.
Yeah,
but
well, one hypothesis is that a white hole is the opposite of a black hole, and that's what the Big Bang was. It was the inverse of a black hole from some other region of space-time somewhere else in a different
quasar.
So yeah, something like that. And matter comes streaming out of a singularity rather than going in, and everything, matter and space, time and space are reversed in the case of a white hole. But yeah, there just isn't enough data to make
right. So
solid theories.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but just about a week ago, they observed two neutron stars that collided, and
the gravity wave.
That's where gold comes from.
Yeah, well, that's where a lot of things come from. Is when
stars,
gold,
heavy metals,
all that stuff. So the other thing with cause and effect. Well, we know that's true. We'll put quantum mechanics to the side because we don't know. It's a potential counterexample, but So, but I said, look, there's a problem, because when you get to the beginning of the universe, the T1 point and several seconds thereafter, it's extreme heat. I mean, I don't even know how hot it is offhand. I'd have to look it up. But it's like that. You're talking about now our physics, our understanding of how things work breaks down, because it's like that universe is not the universe we're used to. So could it be that cause and effect doesn't work anymore? I don't know. It could be. I don't know what's going on there. And now my supposition has been that logic is mapped to the universe and not some abstract object that is separate from the universe. That if we had a different universe, we'd have different logic. So when you're talking about a super hot universe, which is what the universe was before it cooled down and expanded and all that, everything is different because the laws of physics are different, And so whatever your logic was would have to map to whatever that was like, and I have nothing but question marks. So when you say, oh, well, it's cause and effect all the way back, and then you have this first cause, it's like, well, no, it stops right before that because you get to where the universe is super hot, and you can't do proper logic anymore because you don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
So you can't use deductive reasoning at that point.
Yeah. We haven't got the tools. We haven't got the scientific theory or the apparatus.
So logic just kind of runs. Logic, formal and informal, just kind of goes question mark at that point because you can't do proper logic if you don't know how to map it to, the universe you're talking about. So unless I understood enough to understand what scientists don't currently understand of the, I can't map, and if I did, or if anyone did, we would have to develop a whole new set of logic that only would apply to that reality.
Logic is great because it's started. We understand that logic doesn't apply to individual quanta.
Right, and so that,
so that
don't get me started on that.
Is human logic isn't an objective property of the universe. It's how we understand our situation. Is we've formulated these rules because we always observe that they're consistent.
Right, and they are in this universe that we have. But when you rewind it enough, then who knows? Because
okay. So I mean, similar to the first cause is a question of nothing. What is nothing?
Nobody
can tell you.
Yeah, nobody's ever demonstrated nothing.
Yeah, you can't. Exactly. The moment that you had nothing, then you don't have nothing because you have something because you called it nothing.
Exactly, and this idea of we don't have nothing wherever we look. If we can eliminate every single thing out of a particular bit of space, and we're left with 0 point energy. We're left with theoretical particles popping into and out of existence, and that ties it. But that's what
Lorentz cause
the energy is and that that directly relates to this cause.
Well,
question, what causes 0 point energy? What causes these theoretical particles to appear to exist? And that it's a great unanswered question, and so is a question of logic. Where we are with quantum, this is something I've covered in my videos recently, is the question of especially I looked at it in great detail with the inspiring philosophy videos that I did, is the question of, is realism violated or is locality violated? Now what we do know is that one of them is violated. What we can't say is which one, and what inspiring philosophy in his apologetics assert is that realism is violated because they're idealists. So obviously idealists want realism to be violated, but we can't say that. But I mean, the only thing that we can say is either locality is violated, as in that are mechanisms which allow us to travel, allow particles to travel faster than the speed of light, which doesn't seem right. Or realism is violated in that particles can be in two.
Right. So that we need a new subset of logic that covers that. So it's like then we'll have informal logic, formal logic, and quantum logic.
Oh no, not quantum logic.
And the problem is I have enough problems with informal logic, and it's like, yes, we're doing informal logic right now, blah 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 blah. Okay, no, we're talking about, oh, you want to bring in the cosmological argument? Well, hold on, we have to do a different type of logic now. We're gonna have to do quantum logic.
Well, that's essentially what physics is, isn't it? First, you get Newtonian mechanics and Newtonian relativity, and then you get quantum mechanics and Einsteinian relativity. It might transpire that we need something that even supersedes those two. I mean, obviously these are retrofitted. Everything that Newton predicts, Einstein and quantum also predicts, but they go into much more level of granular detail. It might be that we need something that explains, which is what the famous question of the unified fields could potentially explain this if there ever is such a thing. But we need that next layer of clarity of resolution.
Right.
And
it was so funny. It all reminds me. This whole talk reminds me of when I talked to Matt Slick, and I said, that tomorrow, if we learn something new, logic would change. And then he said this nonsensical word, and was like, "Oh, if logic can change, then anything's possible." Blah blah blah. And it's like, no, look, no. If we found out tomorrow that the moon is actually made out of cheese, we'd have to redo a lot of science, right? Okay,
we'd have to revisit the moon. Woo.
We'd have to rethink a lot of things. And so that might affect logic, it might not. I don't know, but
what can't happen? This is interesting. What can't happen, and what people seem to think has happened with Newtonian physics is we can't discover something new that means something we understand today as a law suddenly changes. And a lot of people say that can happen. For example, and this also ties in with what people argue about evolution, is the science that we've explained. Let's say Newton's second law of motion. So if you put mass coming out of the bottom of a rocket, it propels it equally and opposite in another direction. That is still a law, even if what Newton says to explain it has been added to by new theories of the universe. If you still fire hot gas out of the back of a rocket, it still goes in the opposite direction according to what Newton described. And so lots of people come along and say, well, Newtonian mechanics has been disproven. It's like, no, it's not. It's not been disproven, in the same way that if you argue evolution is false, for example, if you discover something tomorrow that falsifies our understanding of evolution, it still won't change the fact that we understand how bacteria divide and how cells divide, because that's
there's some things that within what we call laws of logic or logic, informal logic or formal, that probably would not change. But I can't say that they'll never change in that way that science can, because this is it's a far softer approach than many people want it to be. But I think that Matt Slick's problem with it was that logic is part of God, and so God doesn't change, so logic can't change. So, but it's like, look, if you make a new discovery, then you were just wrong today. And it's the same sort of argument theists do against science, where they're like, well, you can't be sure about science because tomorrow you'll find out you were wrong today. Well, but that's, it's like, no, but that's kind of the point.
Yeah, we might find out that the understanding of why you put hot burning mass out the back of a rocket projects the thing forward. There might be something mistaken in mechanics, but yeah.
Well, okay.
I'm not very good at logic.
You're shooting. Okay, I see what you're saying. So the rocket is stationary in space, and you shoot fire out one end. And so why wouldn't it move? Like, there's an argument that it wouldn't move or shouldn't move. Why?
What I'm saying is, if you overturned everything we know about science tomorrow, the observation that if you put if you eject mass out of one end of a rocket, it will have an equal and opposite reaction and cause an acceleration. And this assuming a
oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, it was a thought experiment. My brain turned off on
what
that.
about on Mars?
I was like,
so Newton's law would still describe that, even if our understanding of how it works changes tomorrow. You can't. Yeah. Oh well.
Unless there's
Still
a
getting
ripple
bit-
in the space-time fabric.
You know what? If things change drastically enough, we probably wouldn't even be here to talk about it anyway.
Like,
So you know,
that would be done.
whoops.
You know,
Hey, look, hey guys, do you think it's a good idea if I do this? No, you know.
well, you know, there's that argument where at CERN they were going to end the universe in an instant.
Yeah, any day now.
You know, then of course the answer, one way of looking at it as well, of course they didn't do because we're all still here. But then you could go into the solipsist point of view and say, well, maybe the universe did end, but we just didn't notice and we carried on imagining that way.
Right, sure.
But you know, you can't answer that logically. That's just the solipsism is
and that's why I said it was like logic is great for a lot of things, and deductive reasoning is great, but to a point. And at some point, you have to kind of say leave it behind in a way and look at reality. It's like, okay, either the light's on or the light's off. That's a good disjunctive syllogism right there. It is not on, therefore it's off. Well, that's great. But the only way I'm going to find out if the dang light is on or off is to look at the light.
Yeah. Or measure
it, right? Yeah, measure something.
Emitting. And this is what the quantum wooists often say, is that because an electron can appear to behave, although it's important to notice that an electron, a quanta is never caught red-handed. It's only it only shows the results of having been in two states at once. But they transfer that then to the macroscopic world, assuming that like say, is the ball bouncing or is it being held by the ball player? Like a quantum wooist would say, well, it depends who's observing it. If somebody's observing it or not consciously, it depends if somebody's thinking about the ball. Like, well, that's not logically consistent.
No, it's in that loop.
And it's as if the quanta is not valid. That logic, that macroscopic logic, is invalid when it comes to looking at quanta, and maybe it is. But the fact is, nobody's ever caught an electron actually doing the state of one thing, of being in two states at once. They've only ever seen the direct results, which are pretty, strong results. It wasn't a superposition of states, but nobody's caught it actually doing it, which is there is a layer of mystery. So it may be that we have yet to discover an underlying mechanism,
and there may be,
and maybe I'm speaking out of place here, but this is only my own personal belief at this point. What I'm speaking from, I can't provide evidence or data to support this position, but it's possible that like the pilot wave theory says, that there has to be some as yet undiscovered mechanism that's so weak it only interacts on this kind of quantized level, but we can't detect it in our known fields that's causing that to behave. But
would an explosion in zero gravity leave pulsing waves like an explosion does in gravity on Earth in a closed environment like that?
When you say waves, pulsing waves,
like ripple out like that, like you throw a pebble in a pond and it has a couple waves that come out of it or whatever, like that, the energy out of it.
Well, in zero gravity, you only have to look at an explosion in
absolute zero, or whatever the singularity is what I'm talking about, the Big Bang. Would that be rippled? Would it be rippled when it expands?
Well, with the Big Bang, it was the universe and space that was doing the expanding. So there'd have to be something outside of that for there to be ripples in, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm just
speculating now, so you got me thinking.
It's one of those things. It's like and again, this is my own opinion. Blah blah blah. I don't think it's currently scientifically meaningful to speak in terms of what you know, it's like the question, what banged and in what? It's like it's not a relevant way of thinking about it because physics doesn't look at it like that. It's like if space was expanding, and within that space, yeah, there are ripples from the Big Bang flying around theoretically. There was the here's an interesting case. At the South Pole there was an experiment called Bicep 2, I think, and they were looking for the polarized gravitational ripples from the Big Bang. I think that was what they were looking for, and they came up with this positive result, and they published it tentatively, but then it was retracted later because they found that the polarization could have been caused by dust, you know, in the 13.8 billion years of bouncing around the universe. That, you know, the ripples were consistent of just interference, but it turns out. But theoretically, still, there could be this ripple within the universe of the Big Bang in the gravitational wave. But to speak of, you know, like to speak of something outside the universe is to say that it doesn't exist in space or time yet.
Well, to me, just logically, it seems like it's stretching. Then that would explain more like why the dark matter is in there or whatever, kind of filling in, or they can't explain it. But that's all I got.
It's something that it's pushing my understanding to the limit, and that's for sure. My own stance here will be I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, speculation.
But I see where you're coming from. But I see where you're coming from. And this is where it becomes unintuitive.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like deductive reasoning. You know, it's used for a long time. You know, and it works for a lot of things. But then, when you really get into the nature of nature and probing the universe and all this, you start to see that what we think should happen or be is like, nope, that's wrong. You know, like one example I used is that this guy had a slinky and he had it stretched out, and he let it go in slow motion, and I thought, well, it's just gonna collapse to the ground all in one giant lump. That's just what's going to happen. It's just going to fall to the ground. Well, no, it collapses in on itself first, and then it falls to the ground.
What you might find is that as it collapses in on itself, the point at which it's collapsing into is the bit that accelerates due to gravity.
Yeah. So I was watching this in slow motion. I'm like, whoa, that's not what I thought would happen. You know, so it's one of those moments where what I thought would happen wasn't what really happened. So
this was something I said at the beginning of the show is that even though relativity and quantum mechanics are deeply unintuitive, the more they get explained and the more people talk about them and the more, you know, as long as the conversation stays, looking at the data and the theories, it does become more and more accessible, so eventually more and more people could just kind of get that a slinky collapses in itself. You know, the forces pulling the two ends together is much stronger than the force of gravity.
Yeah.
So that happens quicker.
Yeah.
It's the same with the Earth and the Moon. Does the Earth revolve around the Moon, or does the Moon revolve around the Earth? Now, a lot of people would say the obvious. The Moon
it's a little bit of both.
Around the Earth. But they both revolve around a common point.
You know what totally opened my mind, speaking on the same point, was that somebody drew the solar system in actual motion because the sun moves. So it's not this like, you know, you always see it in those circle oval things. It's like, no, it's more like a spiral because the sun is going this, you know, direction. And I'm using my hands, which my camera's off, so that totally helps. You know, but you know what I'm saying. I can turn it on and do it. You'll see.
And what you also find is that the the sun will be wobbling because the planets are all pulling on it in different directions. So
My hair.
This is what Newton said, is that when it came to looking at the way the solar system works, he couldn't use his laws to explain it, and he said, "Here's what this is what God does." But then Einstein came along and explained it, and although he was standing on shoulders of giants as well, and but the idea is that for example, if you isolate just Jupiter and the Sun. Although Jupiter, the net result is that Jupiter appears to go around the Sun, that the Sun is wobbling, and that there's a common point between the center of the Sun and the center of Jupiter is buried right beneath the surface of the Sun, next to the Sun's core, perhaps. But there is this kind of counterbalance thing going on. I'm waving my hands around now, and but that happens between the Sun and all the bodies that have a gravitational influence on the Sun. So the Sun is ever so slightly wobbling. And obviously, they're flying around the center of the Milky Way, which is flying around space in some direction or other. And so what relativity says is you've got to look at things in a rest frame, in an inertial frame, to be able to make a meaningful measurement.
All right, what was I doing? Oh, right, the sun is like going like this, and then the things are like going like that, and so yeah. There you go. That's what I was trying to do off camera. It didn't work, right? Right.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Woo. Yeah. That's a good idea.
I want to eat you. No, stop it.
Have it.
Look, I have a cloud in my room. Okay.
Oh dear.
A cloud.
Yeah, I captured a cloud. It's mine now.
Well, at least it's fluffy.
Trying to get the wild scientist hair going.
Oh, you've got pretty wild hair. Scientist hair, I'd say.
Yeah. And my shirt says, "I'm not arguing. I'm just explaining why I'm right." So.
That's very objective.
Yeah, that's my dad's point of view of everything. Yeah. I'm not arguing, I'm just telling you why I'm right. Anyway. I think it's about time I made a cup of tea.
All right, well, he's gone. Let's talk bad things about him. I don't know why I'm the only one on camera. I feel exposed. I feel like I should perform or do something interesting.
Yeah, that's very cool.
You got a juggling act? I'd love to see it.
The what now?
You got a juggling act? I'd love to see it.
If
you got a juggling act, I'd love to see it.
A juggling act? No, but I can do this with my finger. Look, just the tip. I can make that bend. And not everybody can do that, so that's cool.
No,
and then I can push my pinky back, way back, and I can put my hand down here, and I don't know
it's
what else.
Sideshow now, isn't it? Proper sideshow.
Take the foot and put my foot on my head, and
my daughter can do that. She's 3.5.
And I might have cool things I can do now, so I'm gonna go back to my avatar. There it goes. Yeah. That's much more handsome. I need to cut my hair. I don't want to. It's it's a whole thing. It's winter, so my excuse is it's winter, so I need it long to keep me warm.
Oh yeah, clearly. It looks very cool.
No such thing as hats or anything like that,
Yeah, you look like a sea captain.
I've got a polar bear hat. I mean, I guess I could cut it and just wear that all the time. So then I'd go on camera and have a polar bear head. Why not?
Yeah, why not indeed? So, yeah. My brain has run out of things. So
this might be a good time to either
descend
into madness which
Only
I
7
think
in the morning here.
we've pretty much done. But there's always more madness. I mean, I can summon madness. I mean, true madness. You don't understand the depths of madness that I can summon from my brain. Like there used to be this website called Time Cube.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Oh
Yes.
man, now it's archived because the website went off. I guess I don't know if the guy is still around, alive, or whatever. But the website's no longer online. But it's been archived, thankfully.
Yes.
So you can still read it, and it's beautiful. It's just like I would make people. I would be like, you have to read this out loud, and people would read it out loud for me, and I'd just break up laughing because it's so great. It's like, Anyways,
Yeah.
I don't know. We could play. What?
There's vortex-based mathematics. That's another one for the brain as well.
Hmm.
And there's one we did on taking a look at, and I can't remember. There's a few like that. People come up with every now and again. A few months ago, and it's gone. But vortex-based mathematics is similar to Time Cube, in that it's just random stuff that doesn't actually mean anything. But oh, the joy!
Ode to joy.
Yeah, I started saying math instead of math because I had been watching Number File for like a long time.
Oh yeah.
And then I was writing maths, and like somebody was like, "Oh, maths, are you from England or whatever?" I'm like, "No." Like I'm like, I like this better than saying math. It's way cooler. I'm saying maths now all the time. Screw the regular way of saying it. I want to say it this way.
I like everybody around me, I was brought up saying maths. So every time I hear somebody say math, I cringe inside.
Like, what is that? It sounds cooler.
It sounds like people are uneducated. To my ears, I realise that they're not, and that's just the way language works. But my initial reaction to somebody who says math is that they're uneducated.
Well, if they're talking about math, that's like one problem, right? But if you're saying math, well, then you're talking about the problems. That's why a lot of people don't like talking about math, is because it's full of problems.
Yeah, well, although it was hilarious. No, I think on Number File they actually had somebody on who I think has a slight US bias, but explained why math and maths has arisen from a difference, and was suggesting that math is the grammatically correct way of saying mathematics, because mathematics isn't a plural, it's a singular that happens to end in a S. But having said that, aluminum is definitely wrong. It's spelt wrong. It's a spelling mistake that came into the American language. It doesn't happen anywhere else. So there.
I have a question.
What?
It's a very, very innocent question. So there's this game we play where
Pheno 3000 said, just say mathematics and laugh about those only using half the word.
Yeah, mathematics. Yeah. We play this game over here, and it's like this oval shaped ball.
Rugby.
No, it's football. It's what we call it. And then there's this other game where we kick this like white and black ball into the net, and we call that soccer. What do you think about that?
Well, you see, I've heard let's say, so in our country, we have rugby.
Yeah.
And rugby
is that
is where you play on an oval ball.
Uh-huh.
And it turns out that the American football is similar to rugby, but there's a big difference between American football and rugby. That is how the game's played. But,
wow. That's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, how you doing, man?
So, American football is rugby in body armor.
Yeah. It's kind of like saying there's a little bit of difference between golf and ping pong. Slightly different rules.
Yeah, a few thousand acres.
But it's weird that became a thing where, it's like, it's like No, that's football. No, football's soccer. Well, what do you call
Yeah,
soccer?
well-
There is no soccer, I guess.
Well,
I don't know.
Soccer is just short for association football, isn't it?
It's the thing with the white and black ball that they kick into the net.
Yeah,
Somebody's got
the-
confirmation bias, and I don't know who it is.
yeah.
I don't know anything
No,
about
association football is the one where they have a spherical ball that's black and white, and every time they go near each other, they fall on the floor and start crying. That's association football, otherwise known as soccer, and which in Britain we just call it football, or if you're in Scotland, FitBe.
What's that
You're
game?
just a puppet.
What the bleep is that game with the wickets and the thing and you call
Cricket.
it like, yeah, that's cricket. Yeah. I don't understand that game, and it's weird.
Nobody understands that game. That's half the point. Even the people who play it don't really understand. I mean, it's worse than golf for its stupid names of things in it, and there've been hilarious books written using all the terminology out of cricket, and it all just sounds rude because you've got like googlies and oddballs and inside legs and outside legs and off stump and
it's
on
weird
stump.
that some things don't import, like you would think sports would be universal, but there's some sports that are just localized like that.
Yeah. And you get lacrosse. Have you come across lacrosse?
Lacrosse, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And
Or
there's
horse polo, I guess, has been picked up a little bit, but and of course frisbee golf and frisbee whatever.
Frisbee
I
golf.
can't remember the name of it. It's an odd name, but use the long like throwing handles or whatever, and it's about 120 mile an hour. One of the fastest games there are. Size of a golf ball, but you throw it against the wall and come back at you. Yeah, man, I can't remember.
Medicine ball.
It's a strange name. I can't remember.
Is it a squash?
No, it's not squash. It's
'Cause that's
and
the
there's
racket.
a strange name
Called,
for it.
let's see if I can kill myself with this ball.
Pretty much, yeah. It gets you on 120 miles an hour with that.
Yeah, I think that's roughly in the vicinity of what cricket balls are bowled at, about in the hundreds.
Yeah, I remember trying to figure out what was the fastest sport, played sport, or fastest projectile sport, and that one came up on it, and I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah,
That's
it
the
might be.
Google if you're going to search it.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Like cricket, you have these cork balls with leather wrapping that weigh a ton, and you launch them at 100+ miles an hour at somebody, and
So let me ask you this: when you hit the ball with a stick, right? So there's Newton's law of motion in play. But if I'm going at near light speed and I'm observing the ball, what's going on in the quantum realm?
Nothing. It stopped. At the speed of light, it stopped.
Well, if you're near the speed of light, then time progresses very, very, very slowly. But if you're at the speed of light, then nothing.
They can't get there then, right? So that'd be like the third law of thermodynamics. Can't quite get to that frozen.
But if I'm also shrinking like Ant-Man as I do this,
then what you're doing is writing a fantasy novel or a graphic novel about something very cool.
yeah, why can't we shrink like Ant-Man? That was kind of a he got really pretty small in that, and he still heard the voice, and I'm like, so sound wouldn't travel when you're that small, so no.
You'd have to have an apparatus big enough to pick up the vibrations and that. I don't know.
Yeah, you're too small at that point.
Yeah.
No, it's not lacrosse.
Then he grows really big in the next movie, so I don't know.
Oh, idiot guy. Yeah. How do you pronounce
it
that?
Doesn't matter.
Jalai?
Oh,
lacrosse? I don't know. I only know Macross, and that's from Robotech.
no, there's the Irish version where you go around with a big stick that's got a funny name as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's you know what Chocolate Hat, our last hangout that I was with Johnny ended in a very particular way. I'm just wondering if we should duplicate that again.
Why not?
Yeah. Do you remember Johnny, how we last ended that other hangout with the rock guy? You remember the rock guy, the geologist dude that you had?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember how that hangout ended? No, okay. We'll just reference it and let it be. Okay. Hey, yeah, this was fun. I think
Yeah.
I think we've run out of stuff though.
Yeah.
So subscribe. I'm gonna tell people to subscribe to Chocolate Hat.
Yeah,
And,
I will too.
And to thumb down every video.
Thumb down
I
every
mean,
video.
thumb up. I mean, thumb up unless you're being observed. And then switch it. Put it in a quantum entanglement so we're never sure if it's thumbing it up or down.
Yeah.
Hey, it's pretty uncertain.
Yeah, yeah. Some of my videos, especially my Robert Lancer biocentrism videos, have got more than 50% thumbs down on them, so that's pretty good going.
Yeah.
Well, it's because you were wrong, probably.
Yeah, they're all right, and I'm wrong.
Maybe. I mean, maybe there's some, I mean...
I think it's more that they don't like it, but,
Could be. I don't know. You mean that voting isn't like a metric of how right you are?
No, I was thinking about that just this morning. Is YouTube a meritocracy? And I came to the conclusion in my own little mind, no, it's not. It's a votocracy.
Well, I know the
YouTube.
If you want to be YouTube famous, I know the YouTube formula, but it's really dull and you don't want to do it. So stay, look, if you want to stay unfamous, just do more stuff with me and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with being unfamous. I figured out that to be famous on YouTube, you either have to sit in your bedroom and talk about nonsense, or you have to talk about creationism and go over the same arguments again and again, or you have to talk about SJWs, and that's the way people get famous.
You could talk about your feelings on that thing that we talked about in the middle that almost killed you.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to
know. Well,
does it begin with P and end in politics?
Yeah. Once again, I've stolen Johnny's show.
I'm living in willful ignorance right now. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Johnny, you can't allow me back in no matter how many times I beg you.
Oh, you're blocked once you get out of this chat.
Good.
Oh, you know what, Mr. Hat, thanks a lot for showing up here. It was awesome. I love doing this chat.
Thanks for having me on. It's been.
I love your stuff. Your videos are awesome.
Yeah, well, cheers.
I don't know. Well, same for both of you. the one video you did with that deconverter man. That was like the best video of all time.
That was my most psychedelic video ever.
It was a journey into what is reality, and the conclusion is
it was us two messing around. That's what reality is.
That's what it is. There you go, man. That's the meaning of life is hidden in that video. Much like catapult pancakes. Let me explain.
Yeah, that too.
All right.
Creationists, they take it too seriously.
I've learned many things in this hangout. I've learned that Scotland did not invent bagpipes. I've learned other things that are
hopefully you'll have learned.
That's the one walk away from this video. I'm
hoping that you'll learn that the best game with an oval ball is called rugby, and you'll go and watch that.
You haven't seen how hard I can smack a freaking ball with a bat.
I
oval.
I don't care about sports, so it's just.
No, I'm not a big sport fan.
Yeah.
I reference snooker quite a lot in my videos, just because that's quite a. If people have not heard of snooker.
Snooker. Is that like poker, but you're playing underwater?
No.
Yeah, like this is my imagination of what this game is. You're in a snorkel outfit, you got the goggles on, you're playing with playing cards, you're playing poker underwater, but you can you can still breathe because you got the snorkel on. So that's snorkel. That's what it is. That's it's like it's snorkels combined with pokers.
Snooker. No, it's not that. I often refer to snooker as an analogy for quantum phenomena sometimes. So go look it up. It's a bit like pool.
Yeah, I've got a 9-foot Brunswick right behind me here.
Hey guys, Fino3000 says we should make a reaction video to somebody playing a video game where we put makeup on kittens.
No, here's my idea. I always thought of this.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Setting up a pool table with all magnets in there and have the balls react to it, and then you can shoot pool in real life with somebody across the pond with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you take the ball and the magnets would propel the ball and
it would reproduce it on the other side. Though.
There's this
a bit
thing,
like postal chess.
there's this thing, this amazing thing that's been developed. There's this amazing thing been developed called video games.
Oh yeah.
No, but it's not the same as actually getting in there and having that wood crank on that ball. It is not the same.
No, it's not, is it? And maybe on this virtual pool game, you'd also have like you'd be able to put your pint on the table, your pint of beer or your bottle of beer, as you probably have in America, and like that would be reproduced as well, and there'd be like a hologram of a person, and they'd have a beer, and you put it there, just where you want to get your arms in to get the shot in. And
but where?
Well, now we're just going full Star Trek Next Generation.
Where would the quantum particle be in all of this? That's how we'll end it. There you go.
Maybe it's the same quantum particle going backwards and forwards in time and making up all things.
There you go, man.
What would Jean-Luc Picard
Love
say?
you, Chocolate Hat. You're cool. You're epic.
He'd say, you stole that quote from Richard Feynman. That's what he'd say.
Wait, I missed on one question. I wanted you. Could you quote the Clockwork Orange verse for me? Or say anything in that out of it?
You know, it's been years since I've watched Clockwork Orange.
Monty Python's the Holy Grail.
No, Clockwork Orange. It's got to be out of Clockwork Orange.
Oh God, what'd you say? Appin Bedways is best ways.
Can you explain Red Dwarf for us?
No, it's brilliant.
What about Red Giant?
Yeah, Red Dwarf is. I mean, I don't know what. I mean, yeah, Red Dwarf was a comedy series.
Neutron Giant.
Good night,
I don't know about
everybody.
Red Giant.
Good night.
Dwarf. Neutron Giant Dwarf.
Are we ending this, or are we gonna? Or,
All right.
Or what are we doing here?
Let's just talk about Red Dwarf for an hour.
We're talking about Red Dwarf. Screw ending it.
All right, everybody. We'll see you guys later. Hey, everybody.